Stephen King, the master of horror movies on the silver screen. Stephen King, the master of horror books all around this big round world. Stephen King lives in the dump of a house. Stephen King lives in a shack. It's a 3-story mansion in Bangor, Maine, and it looks like it's 300 years old. Stephen King, worth probably $500 million or $1 billion. Stephen King, you live in a shack. With all your money, you would think Stephen King would live in a mansion that is modern in 2022. Stephen King, your house is a dump, a piece of crap. Stephen King, I seen your house back in 1984 when my brother Frank Ramsey drove me to Bangor, Maine to see the Stephen King house. It was a big old mansion, 3 or 4 stories high. It had big iron gates all around it with spiders and gargoyles and bats and devil horns. Stephen King, with all your damn money, you would think you could buy a nice mansion that is modern. The Stephen King house is about 300 years old. It's painted red like a barn. And it has iron gates all around it. And it's a piece of junk. The Stephen King house is a piece of junk. For a multi-millionaire, probably a billionaire Stephen King is, he lives in a shit-hole house. It's a shit of a house. It's probably nothing more than a big outhouse house. I'd like to wish everybody a happy Halloween. And I'm here today with my guest, Pumpkinhead. So, Pumpkinhead, what do you think of the Stephen King house? Well, Dennis, I think the house is a shithole of a house. It's a piece of crap. It is a dump from the 1700s. Well, guess what, Pumpkinhead? I agree with you. I seen it. Me and my brother Frank Ramsey back in 1984. Anyhow, you would think Stephen King would live in a big fancy mansion that is brightly colored and well lit up. But it looked like it had no lights on the house or mansion. It was painted red. It was 3 or 4 stories high, and it was a piece of junk. Says folk artist Dennis Ramsey of Kempful, Canada. Do share and subscribe to the Dennis Ramsey YouTube channel. Thank you. Now, my favorite movies of Stephen King are Pet Sematary, It, The Mist, and a few others. He does make great horror movies on the silver screen, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Anyhow, you would think Stephen King would donate some of his millions for better housing for himself and family. Do share and subscribe to the Dennis Ramsey YouTube channel of folk art, fine art, abstract art, and rock and roll songs that Dennis Ramsey performs. But sadly, the Stephen King house is a dump. It's nothing but a big red outhouse of a building. Shame on you, Stephen. You would think you'd spend some of your millions or billions and get a nice mansion to live in. Do share and subscribe to the Dennis Ramsay YouTube channel. Thank you. But I do got to say, Bangor, Maine is a beautiful place to visit. I only spent one whole day there looking around and really enjoyed it back in 1984. My brother Frank drove me down to Bangor, Maine, so I would get to see Bangor, Maine. Stephen King makes great horror movies. Watch them all, buy them all. Buy his books of horror books that Stephen King does. He's a great writer, great imagination, and a good man. I never got to meet him, but hello, Stephen King, if you're watching this video. If you'd like a Dennis Ramsay folk art painting or fine art painting, I'll do your painting, Stephen King, for $1 or $2 million a piece. Call me. I live in Kempful, Canada. 902-365-5044, New Jive. Do share and subscribe to the Dennis Ramsay YouTube channel. Give me a thumbs up on the Dennis Ramsay films. Peace out of here. But what a shithole of a house Stephen King lives in. It's like a big red outhouse of a building. Watch it on YouTube, you'll see what I mean. And finally, a wink for Grandma Ma.